Great applause for you on Saturday before the game as well, so that must have been touching for you.
Very. I'm getting used to the nice receptions and what have you like. That remains the case forever, like, but we'll see how it goes, won't we?
Absolutely. We're going to talk about your career and how you came into football and obviously as a manager. Cambridge United fan, apparently. That's what I read somewhere.
That's right. I grew up. My dad used to take me down there as a youngster, hanging over the barriers and watching guys like, you probably won't remember, people like Dave Stringer and Alan Biley, Steve Fallon, who was a manager at Histon, where you've taken a couple of players from. But yeah, that sort of cut my teeth and got me interested in football. And it just kind of, it's always been there and always snowballed. Myself and my brother have always been in and around football, and yeah, here we are.
Your brother's not Ray Wilkin, is it?
I wish.
Born and brought up in Cambridge, of course. How did you get into football? Did you play schoolboy football and representative football at that level?
Yeah, I came through, like I say, I just couldn't play it like every kid at that sort of age. You know, the rec, every opportunity I could get there after school, that's where I was. Came through and played in all the junior ranks. Was lucky enough to have an England trial when I was about 14, 15 years old. Thereafter, I sort of left school. I played local village football when I was about 15, getting kicked everywhere. I was a gangly little kid that got kicked around all over the place, which kind of toughened me up a little bit. And thereafter, I wasn't fortunate enough. My dad wasn't a particularly pushy father, and the format for kids getting into pro clubs was quite selective at the time, and I wasn't lucky enough to have got selected, and I couldn't understand why not. I was right at the forefront and always used to score a few goals, and Sunday soccer I was always in the representative side. It never really got me opportunity. But kind of along the way, it makes you more determined to try and achieve, and that's what I did ultimately. I played for village football. I played Sunday football when I got up to work. I was 16 years old. I went to work on the post office, and I used to cycle sort of 4 miles into work. Cambridge is quite flat, by the way, so it's all right to cycle on. Like I say, sort of 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd get up, left school at 16. Went and done that. Spent a couple of years working at the post office, and then the local electricity board. I went and done that, and it fitted in with the times that I wanted to do my training outside of it, and I sort of moved it on from there, really.
As for football, though, you played for Histon, I believe. Was that one of your first clubs to play for?
That's right, yeah. I came through village football, sort of 16, 17 years old. Then I went to Histon, which played at sort of a UCL standard. Steve Fallon came there, who went on to be the Histon manager. Eventually went to Cambridge City. He took me with him from Histon to Cambridge City. I think I was about 18 years old then. I learned a lot under him, to be honest. He taught me a lot, and it kind of coincided with me applying myself. I trained there on a Tuesday and Thursday night. On a Monday, on a Wednesday, I met with a guy, got very friendly with him. He wasn't a great footballer, but he was a very fit and conditioned guy. Helped me work on my strength and fitness. I was quite quick as a player, and I just got really disciplined through that time, and religiously when I used to get home from work, I'd go out and work. I worked incredibly hard, and all of a sudden I started scoring, more goals, and it just kind of grew then. I scored 72 goals in 2 seasons at Cambridge City. Lucky enough to have trials at, I went to Portsmouth and Peterborough, and luckily I had a week under Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, which was fantastic. Never quite made the grade, and then Northampton came knocking again, and that's how I got into the pro game.
Obviously at Cambridge, and the reason why these clubs were after you because the goals you were scoring, because obviously you were playing as a striker at this time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Like I say, I scored 72 goals in 2 seasons, and loved every minute of my football there. And then Theo Foley moved from Arsenal. I went and took over at Northampton. And he showed an interest. I actually took a trial with Northampton and scored in the game that I played, and got dragged off at half time, scratching my head thinking, what am I doing here? And I actually turned him down. I said, look, you've had a look at me once, and I knew at the time I could, there were 1 or 2 people interested, and I actually turned him down in the first instance. And then he pulled me in, he got me there, and I got on well with him, worked hard, and put a deal in front of me, and there we go.
Can you remember your league debut for Northampton?
I can indeed, yeah. Played at Hereford, scored on my league debut after about 19 minutes, I think. I can remember all these things because there aren't too many great highlights in there. After about 20 minutes, I scored after 20 minutes, and it was a fantastic time. But it's kind of strange, like you're there and you're thinking professional football, very glamorous. But I remember going home and my parents were away on holiday and got home in my house and thinking everyone was going to be patting me on the back and there was no one there. Like, you know, it was an empty house at the time, but it was enjoyable and I loved every minute of it. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a pro footballer, and yeah, it's fantastic.
Excellent. Obviously, one of the big games at Northampton came in 92-93 season. Not so much for you, but it came for Wrexham fans with our promotion. With our promotion season. Sorry. Yeah, 92-3 season, the promotion season for Wrexham, and obviously you mentioned already about that game. Great memories for us. What was it like for you?
Difficult, as I've said to you previously. Like, you know, I remember that the Wrexham turned that into effectively a home game. I think you had a couple of games to play. We had a couple of games to play, and I think you needed 3 points at the particular time. And I can remember the split. They used to call it the Spy on Cop, away to the left as you come out on the county ground, which is a shabby old ground to say the least, shared with the cricket ground. But I remember that actually heaving with people and spilling onto the pitch. But all the stars you had at the time, the fantastic team that you had at the time, people like Carl Connolly and Gary Bennett, fantastic names that obviously served you very well. You know, utmost respect for. Came there, done a fantastic job on us, won the game 2-0, and difficult, as we said earlier, getting off the pitch that night, really was.
And you actually met one of the players who played up against you on Saturday night at Jacko's auction, Gareth Owen.
Yeah, they all kind of look a little bit different. Leslie showed me a picture of Jonathan Cross there. Crikey, I've kept myself in trim, so I won't say too much more. They all look a bit different to what I remember, so hopefully they'll excuse me if I don't recognise them if I bump into the street. But yeah, absolutely.
Like Gareth's got a shaved head. Northampton. Sorry about this. Northampton. Your career there came to an end about 95. You actually went on loan to Rushden and Diamonds. What league were Rushden then at that time?
They were making their way through the, I think it was the Doc Martens it was called, Beezer, effectively Blue Square, north-south now, I would say. Yeah, I had quite a lot of injuries when I was at Northampton. I think I played for open period there. I scored 4 goals in 6 games and thinking this is great, and then after 12 games got a bad cruciate injury to my knee. It kept me out for probably nearly 18 months, which was quite a trying time and quite a difficult time. I think I got back, I played, and then there was difficult times there. The club went into administration. Thereafter, I picked up another injury, and I was probably only fit for about 2.5 of the 5 seasons that I was there. And then Diamonds were sort of the money bag side of at the time, being well backed by Max Griggs. It was Doc Martens. They came in for me. Actually paid me more money than I was earning at Northampton at the time. That's how good it was, and two leagues below. So yeah, it was a kind of it was the right move to make at the time. I had a young daughter at the time, and family settled there. So it was within sort of 15 minutes of my house, and again I had really good times there.
Well, it says here that you actually scored on your debut against Everton United, and you scored 12 goals in your first 13 games for them. So that was a great record to start off with.
Yeah, I think I had at the time I had an edge that I was obviously still though I wasn't playing in Northampton's team. They loaned me out to Diamonds for a period there, and I had the luxury of being able to train full time and be full time. And one thing I've always done is looked after myself, and whenever I get the chance, wherever it may be, I'm not going to be one of these pros that mopes around and saying, oh, I haven't played then and I haven't done this. And I think it's I see it as a responsibility of the individual to make sure that they are where they need to be for when they get their moment. And I'm not a big one for doing excuses. If you're full time in the game, get out there and work hard and make sure you might not have a bit of game time, but for 60, 70 minutes, I don't care who you are. If you're looked after yourself, you can go at it and you can run on adrenaline and show what you're all about. And I think it's important that, like I say, I knew when I got my chance, wherever it may be, that I would take it. And at Diamonds, I had that extra edge that full-time training gave you. And obviously I scored a few goals there, and I got myself a move in the close season from there on.
Yeah, actually won promotion with Diamonds to the conference. before moving on to, returning, I should say, you went to Nuneaton Borough first, wasn't it?
That's it, yeah.
The old Nuneaton Borough, not obviously well, we'll come on to that in a minute, obviously, because you were there when the change happened, but it was Nuneaton Borough you went to from, what league went Nuneaton in at that time?
Nuneaton, we got promoted out of what would be the Blue Square North into effectively the conference then, with Rushden. Had a season there in the conference, and again, right at the end of that season, I suffered another knee injury. I've had, like I say, 14 operations between my two knees, and kind of need one now, but I think I've had about enough. I've had my fair share. So I got a knee injury at the end of that. Brian Talbot took over, and it kind of came in at the wrong time where he hadn't seen me play, and he wanted to sweep out a few of the old guard, so to speak, and wanted to bring his own players in. So I became surplus to requirements. Had the operation at the end of that season. Nuneaton were interested, I knew. And as I say, I kind of knew my time was numbered at Diamonds, and took the decision to move to Nuneaton.
Yeah. You had a couple of years with Nuneaton before returning to Cambridge City. That obviously must have been the choice of that move was to return home, was it? I take it.
I had kept a base in Northampton, but I guess kind of my career was kind of spiralling, downwards from there. Having suffered so many injuries, it was difficult to keep any sharpness and edge about my game. I knew it, I had to adapt my game as well. But yeah, I knew guys at Cambridge City. Again, I got a promotion with Nuneaton into the conference. Injury at the end of that season with a knee, and again I found my opportunities very limited playing in the conference with Nuneaton. They had a good amount of money at the time to go and spend, like I say, and that's when I decided to move on to Cambridge. I've always wanted to play football wherever I go. I don't want to sit there and be one of those guys that just wants to pick up money. I want to play football, and hence the move to Cambridge.
And you went on to spend 4 years with Cambridge in this spell, and obviously I haven't got any stats, but you actually scored quite a few goals in that spell as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed going back there, and I think I've always that's what I've tried to do is score goals. Like I say, I have to adapt my game. You perhaps lose a little bit of an edge through the injuries that I had, but I've always been very honest, with people and myself, and the way that I try to apply myself to the game, and always try to show a willingness and a work rate within what I do. I play with some good guys, and very much enjoy my football. I think I got to probably nearly 40 before I had to retire, so having suffered the injuries that I did, I can count myself extremely lucky, and the amount of operations that I've had, that I was lucky enough to play as long as I did. One of those injuries, along the way I've seen that's finished players. So, I'm lucky.
Yeah, obviously, I believe you were 39 when you actually finished your career, but we'll come on to that in a minute, because you left Cambridge City for your first stint on the managerial side, really, as player assistant coach to Roger Ashby with Brentford Town. Down from Compass North, I take it?
I think they were a little bit lower than that. But again, it was kind of a situation where Roger was the manager that took me to Rushden and Diamonds. And he asked me if I'd go and help him there. Kind of a little bit surprised, really. He got eased out of the way when Brian took over at Rushden and Diamonds, but the opportunity arose, and I knew at the time, a long way back, that I wanted to get into coaching, management, whatever it may be. When I think I was 24, 25 years old when I first looked at taking coaching badges and getting involved and getting the feel for it. So that's what I took, went and done some coaching courses then. Roger came on board, like you say, at Grantham, who were a little bit of a journey for us at the time, but we had a fantastic period there. We got in the first round of the FA Cup and a little bit of coverage, and
you actually scored a goal against Leyton Orient, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right, and a little bit of coverage for a little small club like that was fantastic. And at my age, what we done was, we had a group of guys there that weren't very fit. Unfortunately for them, there was an athletics track around the outside of the football pitch, and that became the main point and focus of our training sessions, unfortunately, because we had nothing else. But what it did do, it got everybody to a fantastic level of fitness. They were just journeyman players. My brother, he came and played for us. He'd been abroad in Hong Kong, living there for 10 years, came back, and both the goalkeepers were about 16 stone, beat him in the running to start with, but he focused on it, got at it. We got a great team spirit. We got in the first round of the FA Cup, and when we departed, they were in a reasonable place.
Yeah. You departed in 2004 after 2 years with Grantham. That's when Roger Ashby took the appointment at Nuneaton Borough, back at your old club. And obviously, he asked you to go with him and you joined him, yeah?
Yeah, I had an association with one of the directors there and just spoke to him and sort of sounded him out. Would you be interested in speaking to Roger? Roger had an association through Nuneaton playing against Rushden through the period. Roger had done well at Nuneaton, getting him out of the Doc Martens as was then, and well respected within the game in that region. So he's a bit of a stalwart. I think Roger had played, so I think he's Kettering Town's record appearance maker. He's played some 600 games, I think, something like that. And as I say, he's got the move to Nuneaton, which was for us a good move at the time.
Yeah. 2 years in charge when Roger, I'm not sure if he was dismissed or he left at his own accord, but whatever, he left Nuneaton and you were asked to take his place. That must have been an easy yes to say, was it?
It was difficult. It was very difficult. I'd worked closely with him and I like to think I'm a loyal guy. And when he rang up and said he'd had enough, I said, I offered to go as well. It was quite a sad night when he rang me and told me that, because we'd moved into it together. We got very, very close. I think we'd had a couple of playoff campaigns that we narrowly missed out. I think we finished runners-up in the league one time. We came from nowhere. All of a sudden, got a team together there that finished with a wet sail and got really close. I think it was Southport on the particular time and went in as favourites to the playoffs. And I think we lost 1-0 that year to probably Altrincham, I believe it was. But it was sad because I'd worked closely with him. He was a good friend of mine, and I didn't want to feel that I was letting him down by stepping over his head and taking his place. But he wanted me to take that job. He knew I had an ambition to go and do it, and he's been a fantastic, genuine guy that's really helped me along the way.
Yeah, and to be honest, it couldn't have been a harder start for you, really, because the first 2 years, financial problems at the club, and eventually led to liquidation of the club. But again, when the new club was formed as Nuneaton Town, they appointed you as amazingly as the manager. That must have been a real up and down time for you.
Very much so. I think I took over in midway part of the season from Roger, where we needed a few wins just to make sure that we didn't get relegated. We managed to achieve that. The following season, I think I got them close to the playoffs. I think we finished about 6th or 7th, albeit we had a fantastic budget at the time. And I look back on it now, and I've worked with a lot less money than that and achieved far greater things. But that's how you go. It's a learning curve. There were some strong sides at that level at the time, and I do believe, and look at the players that I brought into the club, people that went on to have pro careers, people like Bradley Pritchard, who went to Charlton Athletic, Alex Rodman, who moved into the pro game. I think 2 of them moved to Tamworth at the time. Ultimately, they went on and won that league to go and play into the conference. Andy Brown, who played for me at Nuneaton, lots of them there that moved on and are having good careers in the professional game. And I'm pretty sure if I'd have kept that side together, we'd have gone mighty close to achieving some success the following season. But as you say, through mismanagement and a long period of mismanagement, the club was in dire straits and it was changing grounds, or it had changed grounds. And yeah, like I say, it didn't know where it was going. It went into administration, and it was only probably about 3 weeks before the season started that we actually knew what level we were going to be playing at, which was incredibly difficult at the time.
Southern League Division 1 Midlands, I believe, was the league you started on. And first season, you finished 2nd and promotion, which was a good start for you.
Yeah, it was the early part of that, when you've got a very expectant club, a club that knows it shouldn't be playing at that level. It had a fantastic fan base for that level, bigger than most anybody else. And there were some difficult times then. I only had about 3 weeks to pull together a side. I managed to keep on board, I think, probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 of the team that had been around me. We had a better budget, I will say, than most of the team in that league, but I still had to go and find the players to make it a side that was capable of achieving. And it took a little bit of a time, and people had to be patient. And I had a bit of heckling and calling from my head because it wasn't happening as quickly as people wanted. Fortunately, the chairman at the time, he saw through all that. He knew I was working hard to make it and bring it around. And as the season progressed, we got better and better and better, and consequently we came through. Leamington at the time we were playing against, they had the momentum of a promotion, Our local rivals had all the pieces in place to make life incredibly difficult for us. We finished runner-up to them, and like I say, showed enough to come through the playoffs.
That's right, you beat Chasetown in the final. Second season, second promotion again. This time to the Conference North, when you beat Chippenham Town in the playoff final. Again, that must have been a great achievement.
Yeah, it was. In a lot of ways, it was easier. I had more time to plan, more time to build a team. I had a chance to look at it. I knew where we were coming from and where we were going to. Selling the club was a whole lot easier than that first season. And even though it was a lowly level that first season, you still need to find the right players. It's kind of horses for courses situation for me, where you have to find the right players to go and do the job. The second season was easier in a lot of ways, other than Steve King at Farnborough had an immense amount of money. And like I say, the players that he signed were really conference players playing at 2 levels below. And you look at the money, and when you look where Farnborough are now, there is no money there. There is no stability there, with the greatest respect. And they've been through some really difficult times. We've done it on a sustainable basis. I think we finished runners-up to them that season. As you say, we managed to get through the playoffs.
A couple of seasons after, it took you a couple of seasons to get to the conference where Nuneaton are now. But you did it from coming from behind and finishing in 5th place in the Conference North, and then obviously you beat Gainsborough in the final of the playoffs to win promotion to the conference. Obviously that must have you thought then that you were going places.
Yeah, to some degree. The following season, we got into the playoffs and narrowly lost out to Telford in the semi-final. I think they beat us 3-2 on aggregate in the semi-final, and there was a bit of a kick in the teeth because, like I say, the previous 2 promotions, and you want to keep that momentum and keep it building all the time if you can. I lost the skipper at the time, Kidderminster, bought him from us. He was a major player for us, he was a good player. Lost him, so I had to find somebody and replace him. I knew I had to kind of tinker with it a little bit. I had the nucleus and the backbone of what I felt was a good side. We've had to work hard. The budget that we were working to at that level was really a mid-table budget, I would say. But we got good boys in, built the spirit, worked them hard, got them organised. There's a little bit of quality along the way. Found the right players. Took a couple of lads on loan that made a big difference to us. And yes, we beat Gainsborough 1-0 at Gainsborough. We only finished 5th that season because due to an administration error. We would have had another 6 points on that would have made us a whole lot further up the level. But we showed that sort of mental resolve. We beat Guiseley 1-0 over 2 legs in about the 122nd minute, I think it was. A guy scored, Andy Brown scored a goal for us, and he went on to score the only goal in the playoffs against Gainsborough. But it was fantastic to achieve on what we had, and what we had to spend was, like I say, it was a great time.
First season in the conference, obviously, I think it was one of consolidation really for yourselves, a higher level. But this season, did you really think you were going to be as high as you've achieved in the league at the start of the season?
Secretly, yes, but outwardly, no. Like I say, I know what those boys are capable of. I know what we developed there. The first season, I took a lot of guys that were playing at Blue Square North level, and probably 1 in 4, 1 in 5 games, they look like world beaters. And the difference is taking them out of that level to taking them up to conference level. Conference level, within what effectively is known as a non-league, it's pretty relentless, and you can't afford to have 1 good game and 4 or 5 in different games. And the one thing, there's loads of people playing at the level down that on their day look as though they can play at this level, and you need to know that they've got the mental resolve to be able to do it week in, week out, not every now and again. And that is the difference. And when I look at players, like I say, I bet there's loads out there that on their day can look very, very good, but you need people that can do it week in, week out, and finding that mental steely toughness that this league requires is a vital ingredient. There's lots of technically good players out there, but can they do it week in, week out, and that's what we need to find at the moment.
Absolutely. Obviously, the results with Nuneaton, your record with Nuneaton as well, has attracted a number of clubs, and one being Northampton Town, of course. You were linked with that job. Why Wrexham?
you kind of answer my question there. You look at Northampton. You know, I think that they're kind of a sleeping giant, as I've said to people previously. And I look at Wrexham, and I know it's been put in the press that I've said it's a sleeping giant waiting to be woken. It is. You know, you look at the passion around the place, the passion that back in '92, '93, whenever it was, that you realise is about the place. The way, you know, people love their club. You know, it's a great credit to the people around and about that they love the club like they do, and you know, it's important. It's their passion. It really drives them day to day. You get up in the morning if you're a supporter and you've had a result the day before, you go to work with a spring in your step, and you know the size of the club that it is. Again, you know, I'm honoured to be your manager, and you know, I want to try and do my utmost to take it forward and get back into that league.
Good. Obviously, you applied for the job because obviously, as it's well known that we advertise for applications only. So, you, you must have seen the opportunity and thought, "This is the job for me." Did you?
Absolutely, I did. You know, people have spoken to me and indirectly made approaches for me on numerous occasions at places that I didn't really feel were a progression for me. You know, it would have to be something special to get me away from Nuneaton. I've been fairly well looked after there and enjoyed my time there, and you know, it had to be right for me to make the move. And you know, I'd love to think that Wrexham is the right move for me, and you know, I need to now go and prove that to people that it is the right move for me. I know I'm not a household name. That doesn't bother me. Like I say, you know, like in anything I've ever done, as you spoke about through the course of my life, you have to earn respect out of people and trust out of people, and that's what I endeavour to do here.
It obviously didn't bother the football board either, football club board. But having said that, though, going forward, what are you looking at? Are you looking for immediate changes, or are you looking?
I think at the moment what I'm looking at, obviously the deadline day for loans is on Thursday, and I've said to the players, I've pretty much met every one of them now and sat down and spoken to them and found out where they want to be, whether they want to be a Wrexham Football Club or they don't. I need to understand if they don't. You know, I'd say that, you know, no player's bigger than this club. It's not about individuals. It's about us as a team and us as a club moving forward. And I don't want big-time Charlies in my changing room. I've never had them at Nuneaton. If I had them at Nuneaton and I'd made a mistake, they pretty soon knew where the door was. They had to understand the ethos of that changing room and buy into what it was all about. And it's not enough just to think you can turn up of a morning and do a couple of hours training and clear off home and think that's enough. It's not enough for me. You're full-time, healthy young men that, you know, need to go and lend a little bit extra to it to make a difference to all of us. And when people do buy into that and understand that and move that way, I just think the whole thing gets going a whole lot quicker.
You mentioned there full-time, and obviously that's, I know it's a question a lot of people, I've heard it seen and heard it from people. Obviously you play professional football full-time, but this is your first managerial appointment where you're a full-time manager. Does it scare you, the step up to it?
Not at all. Like I say, I'm not afraid of work. Whatever it may be. I've worked 60 hours a week in a job and coupled that together with what I'd done at Nuneaton. I was focused on what I did. You know, if it meant watching games, I had to manage my time very carefully, which is a large part of what's needed. But yeah, you know, whenever I could get out, and I was kind of flexible within the job that I was working in, I got myself into a position that allowed me a degree of flexibility. I had to be accountable for what I was doing, but you know, having that flexibility and being able to go out and speak to people, and you know, I was honest. I still put the hours into that and put the figures on the sheets, which was important. But no, it doesn't faze me. I think in any walk of life, any job, if you're prepared to work hard and give it your best shot, as long as you can look yourself in the mirror and know that you're doing that for people, I don't see it as being a problem. I will make mistakes along the way. I'm not going to hide and lie about that. I've made mistakes through the course of learning, but they're mistakes trying. They're not mistakes through being a lazy bugger that doesn't want to, just wants to pick his money up and do the bare minimum. That's not what I'm about. Hopefully, as I say, I'm honest. I'm nothing to hide with it. If people got a question to ask me, I'd like to think I can answer it in an honest fashion and be upfront with people, and certainly the players.
Excellent. assistant manager, obviously, was it Noon?
Yeah, Mark Noon.
Mark Noon was your assistant to Nuneaton, and he's obviously taking on your role as the new manager there. Have you given any thought of the future about that at all?
Mark's an incredibly talented individual. He's currently studying for a doctorate, PhD. He's into sports science, and you know, he bolted on really well to what I was doing at Nuneaton, or we were doing at Nuneaton. I had a guy who's moved to Mansfield, that's moved into the full-time game prior to that. Another guy prior to that moved into the full-time game with Crystal Palace. There's a few people that have rung me and expressed a real interest to come to Wrexham, but I need to know that, you know, they're in the same boat as me, and if they, you know, they want to be committed to it, that, you know, they're going to have to be committed to it, and I need to establish that and be comfortable with that in my own mind. I can't have somebody along for the ride. They've got to come with me and be as committed to it as I'm going to be. And that's why, like I say, it's an important time for me to work with the players and get out on the training field, which I've loved every minute of so far. They've given me a great reaction. And it's, like I say, it's important that I find the right man to do the job. It's a little bit easier when you're only part-time and it's only taking a bit of your day and a bit of your time and whatever you like, but like I say, whoever it is needs to be fully committed to what we're trying to achieve here.
Okay. We'll take a 10-minute break now. Kevin, I'll take questions from the audience in the second half when we've got Don Bircham, Barry Horn and Spencer Harris up there. So we'll have a 10-minute break now. Kevin, welcome everyone.